Revealed. After supporting him with $200,000 for a home, my son's heartfelt message left me shocked. The phone buzzed, jolting Lisa from her thoughts as she wiped down the diner counter. The sun filtered through the window, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. She glanced at the screen, her heart racing. It was a text from Jake. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the message, reading his words over and over, each line a knife twisting in her gut. After gifting him $200,000 for a home, she hadn't just opened a door. She had unwittingly thrust him into a storm. I can't accept this. I feel trapped. Your sacrifices. Those words echoed through her mind like a haunting melody. Here she was, a 45-year-old single mother, who had spent her life pouring every ounce of hard work into making a better future for her only son. She had given him everything. The diner was more than just a job. It was her lifeline. Each double shift was a step toward the American dream she wanted for Jake. She thought the house would be a fresh start, a way to lift Jake up, to give him wings. Yet somehow it felt like a shackle instead. The townsfolk had rallied around them, hearts overflowing with pride and joy. Gossip flew through the small Midwestern town, people talking about how far Lisa had come and how bright Jake's future appeared. But in this moment, all Lisa felt was the tightening knot of nerves in her chest. What had she done? Her mind flicked back to memories of Jake sitting at the diner booth as a small boy, his eyes filled with dreams bigger than the small town they lived in. The way he'd fervently shared stories of becoming a doctor, an architect, a hero. She had always believed in those dreams, nurturing them through late-night dinners and early morning breakfasts. Now, however, she feared those dreams had morphed into shadows, haunting him with the weight of expectation. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Days blurred into weeks. Conversations became strained. Lisa would watch as Jake retreated into himself, the light in his eyes dimming. She wanted to support him, to lift him up, but guilt weighed heavy on both their hearts. They danced around the truth, the air thick with unspoken words. Their bond felt frayed. Love threatened to dissolve into resentment. Then one late evening the storm broke. A family crisis, the kind that shakes you to the core. As they confronted the chaos, emotions erupted. Frustration, hurt, and unfiltered love collided. Jake's eyes flashed with defiance as he said, "Mom, I want to build my own life, but your help feels like a chain around my neck." In that moment the world stood still. Lisa's heart raced as she absorbed each word. Would they ever find a way to navigate this chasm between duty and desire? Would they be able to peel back the layers of hurt and discover a shared understanding? Or would the weight of obligations become an insurmountable wall? As silence enveloped them, the room felt charged with uncertainty. Could they both find peace in redefining success? The question lay heavy in the air, and the townsfolk held their breath, waiting to see which path the mother and son would take amidst life's greatest challenges. The days passed with an oppressive weight hanging between them. Lisa watched Jake retreat further behind a wall of silence. At the diner, she grew accustomed to touching tables and glancing at the door, hoping he'd walk in. Each time the bell rang, her heart raced, only to sink when it was someone else, a familiar face with a smile, unaware of the storm brewing at home. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the diner, she wiped down the last table and whispered goodnight to the remaining customers. Exhausted, she sank into a booth, her mind racing. How could she change this? Each thought was a spiral, leading her deeper into worry. She thought of reaching out, of calling him. But what could she say? The next morning the air tasted different. It was crisp, filled with the promise of change. Determined, Lisa decided to confront the rift. As she arranged flowers in a vase outside the diner, a ritual she adored, she felt a flicker of hope spark within her. Maybe today would be different. Around noon Jake entered, the weight of the world painted on his face. Lisa's heart skipped. He looked tired, the shadows under his eyes betraying sleepless nights. She gestured him over, her body trembling with the energy of the moment. This was it. Jake, she began, her voice softer than she intended. Can we talk? Really talk? He hesitated, scanning the diner filled with the familiar hum of chatter. I don't know if please, she cut in, desperation slipping through. Just a few minutes. She led him to a corner booth, away from prying eyes. When they sat across from each other, she felt the weight of everything unsaid, like a thick fog. I've been thinking, Lisa started, her hands nervously twisting the napkin, about what you said that night. I never intended. I just wanted to help you start fresh. I see you struggling and it kills me. Jake's gaze fell, his brow furrowing. Mom, it's not like that. Just, everything feels wrong. I thought having my own place would be great, but it feels like it's all built on your expectations. I want to make my own mistakes. Learn by myself. His words struck deep. Lisa's instincts screamed to defend herself, but instead she leaned in. I didn't mean for it to suffocate you. I believed the house would be freedom. I thought I could give you a way to chase your dreams without struggle. He looked up, meeting her eyes with an intensity that stopped her breath. But that's just it. I need to do it for myself, not because of what you sacrificed. The truth hit both of them like a thunderbolt. The expectations, the wants, and the love all entangled together made a messy knot that needed untangling. Suddenly, something shifted in the air between them. Okay, Lisa whispered, determined. Let us figure this out together. What if we set some boundaries? You can define what success looks like for you without the pressure. Jake blinked, surprise painting his features. Really? You do that? A tentative smile emerged on Lisa's face, the first real one in weeks. Absolutely. Let us make a plan. Together. Just as he smiled back, the diner door swung open. The bell rang, and in walked a group of town members, lively and full of chatter. Lisa's moment of clarity faded, blending back into reality. But as laughter erupted, something unspoken lingered between Lisa and Jake. A newfound understanding. Would they dare to redefine their relationship and navigate toward healing? As the sounds of the diner enveloped them, Lisa felt the heaviness start to lift. Could this be the beginning of a new chapter? Or was it just a thin veil over deep-rooted fears still waiting to be unearthed? A question loomed: would they truly be ready for the journey ahead? The laughter and chatter filled the diner like a cheap, warm blanket, wrapping around all the customers. But for Lisa, it felt like the sounds were muffled, like a thick wall separated her from the joy everyone else was sharing. She glanced at Jake, who was still processing her words, and a surge of hope mixed with uncertainty flooded her heart. Could they really do this? She watched as he took a deep breath, a flicker of determination crossing his features. So where do we start? He asked, his voice steady yet softer than she remembered. She could see he was willing to give it a shot, and that meant everything. Let us talk about what you want, Lisa said, leaning forward slightly, her enthusiasm igniting a spark in her chest. No more expectations. Just you. Jake's brow furrowed as he considered her words, the smile fading slightly as new thoughts crept in. I guess I want to explore what it means to be me. Not just Jake, your son, but Jake, the person trying to figure it all out. You know? His honesty struck her deep, like a hammer on a nail. Lisa nodded, her heart racing. I want to support you in that. What does that look like to you? For a moment he seemed lost in thought, his fingers tracing patterns on the table. I think I need to step back for a bit. Maybe find a job that doesn't just pay the bills but makes me believe in something again. I need to connect with things that matter to me. She smiled as she heard the hint of passion in his voice. I'm proud of you for thinking that. Do you have any ideas? Anything you've always wanted to try but never had the chance? Jake hesitated, searching the dark wood grain of the table. Maybe art, he said quietly. I used to love painting. Used to dream of doing it for a living, but I didn't think it was realistic. I thought it would let you down. The words hit her like a boulder. Oh Jake, you could never let me down by just being you. I always wanted you to chase your dreams. Jake met her gaze, a spark igniting in his eyes. This could be a big step, huh? Big steps are necessary every once in a while, Lisa replied, feeling warmth spread through her. Let us look at classes, workshops, whatever it takes. I believe in you. Just as the energy in the booth swelled with possibility, the diner door swung open again, this time revealing a storm of clouds rolling in outside. The sudden drop in temperature caught their attention. The bell jingled a haunting tune as a gust of wind followed the customers inside. Without warning, the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging the diner into a moment of darkness before bursting back to life. For an instant, she caught the glances of other diners, their moment of laughter cut short, eyes diverting back to their plates, as if they knew the hush that came with storms. "Mom," Jake said again, his voice barely above the din. "Thank you for giving me room to breathe." She sensed the change in his voice, a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "I want to help, but remember, we're learning together. We're in this as a team." The air crackled now, as wind picked up outside almost alive. The sudden storm seemed to echo the tension that still hung between them, a reminder that as much as they wanted to embrace the moment, there was a world of uncertainty lurking just beyond their discussion. As another clap of thunder rumbled, bringing a shiver down her spine, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that whatever path they chose, there were still deep waters to navigate. "Can we be bold enough to face whatever comes next?" Jake asked, a hint of fear lingering in his voice. And with a shared look, a question danced between them, unspoken yet potent. Would they be brave enough to dip into the unknown and discover who they really were? Away from the limitations of expectations? As lightning flashed outside, illuminating the diner for just a moment, Lisa felt the question burn with urgency. What would they discover about themselves in the storm? The storm seemed to whisper secrets as the sky darkened overhead. Lisa felt a chill pass through her, not just from the wind outside, but from the weight of the moment they were sharing. Jake sat there, his shoulders tense, his gaze lost in thought. "Let us not wait. Why not start today?" she suggested, her voice carrying a mix of excitement and urgency. "What do you mean?" he asked, his brow still furrowed. "Let us go home and look up some art studios. We could even visit a few and see what kind of classes they offer. If this is something you're passionate about, why hold back?" He hesitated for just a moment, but Lisa could see the wheels turning in his head. "Okay, but what if I'm not good enough? What if this goes nowhere?" The question hung there like the storm clouds outside. "What if you are? What if you thrive?" she countered, leaning in closer, making it clear how serious she was. Jake didn't reply immediately. Instead, he picked up the salt shaker and began twisting it nervously in his fingers. "I guess I'm just scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of failing, scared of what you might think if I don't make it," he finally admitted, his voice trembling just slightly. "Jake, listen to me," Lisa said, her words firm yet tender. "You're worth isn't tied to your success or failure in painting. You are my son, and that makes you enough always." He let out a breath, and she noticed the tension in his shoulders relax a bit. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely. Just promise me you'll give it your best shot." The room quieted as the surrounding din faded into the background. Jake searched her face for affirmation, his eyes softening. "Okay, let us do this," he said finally, a flicker of excitement breaking through. "All right then. Let us escape this storm and jump into your dreams." As they stood and made their way to the exit, the sounds of thunder faded into the background, a mere hum of what was to come. The diner door opened with a flourish, and the gust of wind felt almost like a call to adventure. They stepped out, the storm swirling around them, but Lisa felt lighter. Maybe this was the change they both needed. "You ready?" she asked as they maneuvered through the sheets of rain. "More than ready," Jake replied, determination blooming in his voice, a smile breaking through his earlier fear. A newfound energy surged between them, palpable as they braved the elements together. But even in the midst of this support, a question loomed over Lisa. How would her own dreams fit into this journey? Was she ready to face her own unfulfilled desires as they ventured into uncharted territory together? Suddenly, the wind intensified, whipping around them like a whirlwind. The colors of the world blurred, and Lisa's heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. As they reached the car, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket. With a glance, his smile froze. "It's Dad," he said, his voice dropping a notch. Lisa's heart sank. Would this be the interruption that shattered the fragile moment they built? "Should I answer?" Jake asked, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Maybe they weren't quite ready to face everything just yet, but perhaps together, they could find their way through the squall. Would this call bring clarity or chaos? Jake stared at the buzzing phone with a mixture of dread and hesitation. "I don't know, Mom. What do you think?" His brow knitted tightly, a silent battle waging in his mind. Lisa felt a pang in her chest. She understood that this call from Jake's father was a reminder of the old wounds they both carried. If you're not ready, it's okay to let it go to voicemail. We can listen to it later. No, Jake spoke suddenly, his voice steadying. I need to know. I have to face this. She watched him as he took a deep breath and answered the call, shoving his other hand into his jeans pocket. Her heart raced in tandem with the distant rumble of thunder, each ring of the phone echoing the uncertainty swirling around them. Dad? Jake's voice instantly transformed, more guarded now. She could sense his walls going back up. The words flew from his father's side, barely waiting for acknowledgement. There was urgency, trouble simmering just beneath the surface. Lisa strained to catch fragments of the conversation, every detail a reminder of what had been lost, and what they fought to protect. No, I'll handle it. Jake's voice cracked at those words. A beat passed as he fought against his emotions. A cold wind whipped around them, tugging at their jackets. In the brief moment of silence that followed, Jake cast his gaze upward, battling the storm within and outside. Okay, I understand. He looked at her, and in that brief connection, she could see the myriad of emotions flaring: fear, anger, a hint of sadness, but also resolve. Then came the twist. When? Tomorrow? Her heart raced. Could this be the turning point, or another pitfall? His brows furrowed, deepening the worries etched on his face. All right, I'll see you then. He hung up with a finality that shook Lisa to her core. What did he say? She asked gently, reaching out to him. Jake rubbed his forehead, still processing the conversation. He wants to meet. He has been making promises again. The weight of those words pressed heavily against the anticipation they had nurtured only moments before. She felt the air shift around them as reality crashed in. Jake, are you okay? Her voice dipped lower. Just caught me off guard. I thought he was done with this, but... His breathing seemed to quicken. Taking a step closer, she placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. You've got me with you. No matter what he says or does, you remember that you're not in this alone anymore. I know. He hesitated. Are we really prepared for what this means? For me, for us? The rain continued to hammer the car roof above, each drop a reminder of the uncertainty ahead. We can take it one step at a time. Evaluate, make choices. Just like we planned for your art. Remember what you said? But what if it drives a wedge between us again? Jake swallowed hard, the fear raw in his voice. Then we confront it together. That's the only way we can navigate through this storm. He took a moment, and she watched the strength of his resolve flicker back to life. Okay, I'll try. I want to face this head on. The exchange from seconds before lingered heavy in the air. But for now, they stood together against the encroaching chaos. A new resolve settled between them, a testament to their resilience. But I can't help feeling like something bigger is at stake, Jake murmured. Let us just see what tomorrow brings, Lisa replied, holding on to hope. As they climbed into the car, Lisa's heart beat fiercely in her chest. The storm outside felt like a prelude to the turmoil they were yet to face. What secrets would tomorrow unravel, and how would they weather them as a family? With one final look at the angry clouds, she wondered if their journey was just beginning. Would this call change everything? Or might it be the very thing that pushed them into becoming the family they were meant to be? The night dragged on, heavy with the weight of unspoken words and unresolved history. Jake sat in the passenger seat, fingers fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. Each raindrop that hit the windshield felt like a countdown to the meeting that loomed. Lisa tried to keep her focus on the road, but her mind raced with the implications of tomorrow. Jake, she said, breaking the silence, can I ask what you want from this meeting? He turned to her, surprise flickering across his face. I guess I want answers. Clarity. Something. Anything. I get that, she replied. But what if those answers aren't what you expect? What if they lead to more questions? He sighed, looking out into the darkened world outside. I just want to know if he's really back for me, or if it's another empty promise. I can't handle more disappointment, Mom. In that moment, she could see the boy he used to be, fragile yet hopeful, yearning for validation. It twisted her heart to know that he still felt that way. Disappointment or not, whatever happens, you have me. Just remember that. Right. But what if he tries to pull me back in? What if I actually want to go? Face that when it comes. Right now, try to focus on tomorrow. Think of it as an opportunity, she encouraged, but her voice wavered just slightly. Jake nodded, but Lisa could feel the storm brewing inside him. The more he thought about his father's return, the more uncertainty clouded his eyes. No amount of preparation could fully ease the tension. The morning dawned gray, the air thick with anticipation. As they drove toward the coffee shop where Jake's father proposed to meet, Lisa's heart sank. A part of her wanted to scream that they could just turn around. But as she glanced at Jake, his determined expression propelled her forward. This was not just about confronting the past. It was about Jake forging his own path. As they parked, a familiar figure leaned against the entrance, hands shoved deep in pockets, shadows mingling with the gray. Jake's father. Something deep within Lisa unsettled at the sight, but she reminded herself this wasn't about her. It was about Jake. "Are you ready?" she asked, gripping the steering wheel as if it could ground her. He took a breath, his voice steadier this time. "I have to be." They stepped out into the crisp morning air, the faint scent of coffee wafting toward them. The closer they got, the tighter her chest felt. Jake took the first step ahead, his bravado cutting through her anxiety like a beacon. As they approached, his father looked up, a hesitant smile on his face that didn't reach his eyes. "Jake, it's good to see you," Lisa observed the conflicting emotions swirling in the air, the tension, the unspoken resentment, the flicker of hope. With her heart beating frantically, she stepped back, waiting outside to give them space. This moment belonged to Jake now. She turned away, pretending to scan the nearby street, her mind racing through everything that could transpire. Would this lead to healing, or would they fall apart again? Moments stretched as she kept her distance, but she could hear snippets of their exchange. As Jake responded, his voice grew stronger, more self-assured than she had heard before. A breath of hope ignited within her. But then a laughter, a clashing sound like a bottle shattering. It hit her hard, undeniable. Something was said that changed the course of their conversation. "I need to know the truth." Jake's voice rose, carrying a mix of desperation and anger. Her heart dropped. What truth could unravel everything they had built? They moved further into the cafe, voices rising. She strained to hear. The impact was immediate, like a crack of thunder striking. She couldn't help but feel that they were all at a crossroads, and while the encounter could sow seeds of reconciliation, it could also rip them apart. In that moment, she registered that whatever lay inside that cafe was about to alter everything. Was Jake really ready to confront the real demons of his past? Her hand clenched the railing outside. Would they emerge stronger or more fractured than before? The door swung open abruptly, the sudden rush of voices spilling out into the fresh morning light. Jake stepped out, his face pale, a tumult of emotions flashing through his eyes. Lisa's heart dropped at the look on his face. "Mom, we need to talk." It was the one phrase that could only signal a storm ahead. She braced herself, feeling the tension thrum between them, but she knew it wouldn't reveal itself without him first processing what had just unfolded. Would this conversation lead to healing? Or was it just the beginning of something more profound? Jake took a step back, his breath hitched in his throat as he struggled to find the right words. Lisa could see him fighting to contain a rush of emotions. She felt the world around them fade into a blur, the bustling cafe behind them quieting as her focus zeroed in on her son. "Jake, what happened in there?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, nearly lost in the cool morning air. His eyes were glassy, a storm brewing beneath the surface. "It's not what I thought it would be." "Not at all," he replied, his voice trembling slightly. He paused, staring into the distance as if searching for an answer in the clouds. "He said he's moved on, that he doesn't want to be a part of my life anymore." Lisa's heart sank as a mix of sympathy and anger swirled inside her. She wanted to scream that his father had no right to make such a decision, or to inflict this pain on Jake again. "But what about you? What do you want?" "I don't know. I thought that maybe," he clenched his fists, battling with his thoughts. "I thought he'd at least make an effort, that we could fix things. I wanted that." The vulnerability in his voice shattered her heart. Stepping closer, she wanted to wrap him in warmth, in the love that had been a constant through his life. "You can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, sweetheart. You did your best to reach out, and that's what matters." "But it hurts, Mom. It hurts so damn much." Anguish spilled from his lips, and she could see that the stoicism he had borrowed from her was beginning to crumble. "I know," she said softly, not knowing how to erase the pain but desperately wanting to ease it. "It's okay to hurt. It means you cared. It means you felt. But why did he even come back? What did he want? I can't stand this. I thought it was finally going to be different." His voice cracked, revealing the depth of his disillusionment. "Maybe he thought it was time to confront his own failures," she suggested. "But that doesn't mean you need to bear the weight of his choices. You're not responsible for what he does or doesn't he want." They stood in the parking lot, rain clouds looming as if mirroring the somber mood. The cold air felt heavy, thick with emotion like a lingering fog that neither of them could pierce. Jake took a deep breath, steadying himself, but the look on his face told her there was so much more. "There was one other thing," he said. He hesitated, fear creeping into his expression. "Jake, what did he say?" She sensed the finality in the air, bracing herself for the words that could shift everything. "He said he is happy without me and that I should be too," Jake uttered, the honesty cutting like glass. Her heart twisted painfully at his words. The hurt radiated off him like heat from a fire. That's not true. You deserve to be loved, Jake. You are worthy of that. I just don't know how to move on from this." It feels like his voice broke and tears welled in his eyes. "Like I'm not worth fighting for." Lisa stepped forward, grasping his shoulders gently. "You are worth every fight. Not just for him but for yourself. Don't forget that. I just wish he could see that." "Maybe one day he will," she said, holding his gaze. "But right now it's about you learning to see it in yourself first." They lingered in that moment, together in the midst of uncertainty. Jake's shoulders trembled as the floodgates opened, tears streaming down his cheeks. As much as it hurt, Lisa knew he needed this release. In that space between them filled with the remnants of hope and hurt, something shifted. The heaviness, though still present, felt less burdensome with their shoulders aligned against it. They were in this together. "Let us grab some coffee," she suggested tentatively, wiping a stray tear from his cheek. "We can talk it through. Whatever you need, I'm here." Jake nodded, visibly shaken but grateful for her presence. As they turned back toward the cafe, Lisa caught a glimpse of his father through the window, alone now, his back turned to them. Mom Jake's voice was quieter, but it held a new resolve. "Yes, maybe it's time I stop waiting for him to decide what I deserve." Her heart swelled with pride, feeling the strength beneath his words. "That's it, Jake. You can take back your power." As they crossed the threshold, a flicker of possibility ignited within her. Maybe Jake was on the brink of his own transformation. But even as they stepped inside, Lisa knew that the real battle was just beginning. Would they find a way to redefine their paths and heal the wounds of yesterday? The comforting aroma of coffee filled the air, masking the deeper unrest lingering in their hearts. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that the conversation ahead would follow them into uncharted territory. "Let us talk about what's next," she offered quietly, guiding him toward a secluded corner table. "Yeah," Jake agreed, his resolve wavering but the determination still strong in his eyes. "Let us. But I have a feeling it's going to get complicated." As they settled into their seats, Lisa felt her own heart race again. What truths would surface as they continued to lay bare their feelings? As they settled into the warm wooden booth, the world outside faded further into a warm blur. Jake stared into his cup of coffee, steam curling up like fleeting thoughts. Lisa could see the cogs turning in his mind, and she was both anxious and eager to hear what would spill out next. "Mom," Jake began hesitantly, his voice barely a murmur above the quiet hum of the cafe. "What if he's right? What if I should just let go?" Lisa squeezed his hand across the table. "Letting go of someone's expectations doesn't mean you're giving up on yourself. You're not making space for his happiness. You're making space for yours." Taking a deep breath, Jake leaned back, the simple act revealing his inner turmoil. "But I don't even know what my happiness is anymore. Just feels lost." Her heart ached as he searched for clarity in his own heart. Life has a way of bringing us back to ourselves, even when it feels like we're stuck in someone else's shadow. Maybe it's time to figure out what makes you Jake, without the burden of your father's decisions weighing on you. "Right," he sighed, looking out the window, tracing invisible patterns in the steam on his mug. "I always thought I'd know what I wanted. A career, maybe a family of my own. But now it's just foggy. Foggy is okay, she reassured him. It doesn't mean you can't find your way through it. Sometimes you have to spend time in that fog to understand what you're truly seeking. Jake pondered her words, his brow furrowed. What if I don't like what I find, though? His voice cracked, a mix of fear and uncertainty creeping in. Then you change course, Lisa said firmly. But you have to start sailing in the first place. You can't let someone else's direction steer you into a storm. He nodded slowly, and she could see resolve flicker in his eyes. I guess I've been waiting for permission to find myself to be a person outside of, well, everything. I'm just not sure where to start. Maybe by closing the door on the past. A small step could be setting yourself boundaries. You're not obligated to keep a seat at the table for someone who doesn't cherish you. Jake looked directly at her, vulnerability twisting into determination. I've let his absence define my worth for too long. I want to step out of that shadow. I really do. That's the spirit. Start with what brings you joy, even in little ways. Remember that hike we took last summer? Just the two of us? He laughed lightly, a brief respite from the heaviness. I loved that. I felt so free. Then be free again. Go back to those moments that made you feel vibrant, alive. She watched as the storm in his eyes began to clear. The shadows of his father's words receded, if only slightly. Maybe I should look into volunteering, he said suddenly, a spark igniting in his voice. That sounds perfect. Giving back can often help us discover what we value. But remember, it's okay to find those values in layers. Yeah. Jake's smile was tentative but genuine. A light breaking through the clouds. I like that. Feels like a plan. But just as hope twinkled on the horizon of his heart, a shadow of doubt clawed back into his mind. What if I never feel whole? What if nothing ever changes? Listen, Lisa said softly, leaning closer. It's a journey, Jake. Finding yourself isn't an instant fix. It's about the days and moments that take you closer to who you are meant to be. And you will stumble. That's part of growth. Thanks, Mom, he whispered, a quiet strength blossoming in his chest. I'm grateful for you always. Just then the door swung open, and the chill of the outside air swept through the cafe. Lisa turned at the commotion, her heart catching as she spotted a familiar face, his father, stepping inside, glancing around. Mom, look, Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper, as his expression darkened. Stay calm, she whispered back, instinctively leaning toward him. You don't have to engage with him. You're not that lost boy anymore. Jake's eyes were locked onto his father, confusion and determination fighting a silent battle within him. The air crackled with tension as each moment stretched painfully into the next. Jake, she murmured, remember, this is your moment. You get to choose how it unfolds. He inhaled sharply, his pulse quickening as his father moved toward them. Would he toss aside the new resolve he had just begun to embrace? Or would he face this unexpected confrontation with the power he had rediscovered? The uncertainty hung between them, a question lingering in the air, ready to be answered. Would Jake be ready to reclaim his story? Or would he choose the old fear that had once consumed him? The cafe teetered on the edge of silence, each breath loaded with unspoken words. Jake's heart raced, thundering in his ears as he tried to steady himself. His father was here, a specter from his past, and all the emotions he thought he had put away clawed back to the surface. Jake, Lisa whispered again, her voice a soothing balm against the rising tide of anxiety. Just breathe. Look at me. He met his mother's gaze, grounding himself in her presence. The warmth in her eyes ignited a flicker of courage within him. Still, when he turned to face his father, time seemed to stretch into an eternity. Ryan, his father, wore his familiar scowl, the kind that seemed to carry the weight of the world. There was no denying the resemblance. The same sharp jawline and dark hair, now threaded with gray. But as Jake observed him, he felt less like a son and more like an observer, someone standing on the outside, looking in. Jake. Ryan's voice cut through the tension, rough and strained. We need to talk. The words hung in the air, suffocating in their weight. Jake's instinct was to retreat, to flee from the shadows of disappointment that loomed so close. But the coffee shop's hum wrapped around him like armor. He held his ground, gently pulling Lisa's hand away only to find strength in his own. Talk. His voice shook, but this time with resolve. What do you even want from me now? Ryan's expression flickered, a mix of frustration and surprise. I'm trying to help. You've been avoiding me, and that's not how family works. Jake swallowed hard. Family. The word felt foreign, tainted with years of unfulfilled expectations and silent arguments. Maybe it's time I redefine what family means to me. Ryan frowned, and for a moment Jake could see doubt flicker in his father's eyes. What happened to the boy who wanted to be an engineer? You had a dream, Jake. That dream was yours, Dad. And it was never mine. Jake felt the words spill from his lips, raw and honest. Each syllable seemed to shock him, opening a door he had long kept locked. Have you even thought about what you're throwing away? Ryan pressed, his tone sharper now. You've got a good future ahead of you. Why waste it? I'm not throwing anything away. Jake shot back, his voice unwavering. I'm discovering who I am outside of what you wanted. I may not have all the answers yet, but I refuse to let your dreams dictate my life. The cafe fell silent, but for the distant clink of dishes and murmurs of other patrons. Jake's heart pounded, resonating with clarity. This was his moment, not just to confront his father, but to claim the power that had been dormant for too long. Looking past Ryan, he caught Lisa's gaze. Her small smile was a light in the dark. Fed his courage. No more shadows, Dad. I'm not going back, Jake said firmly. You've had your chance to dictate my path, but now it's my turn. Ryan blinked, taken aback. For the first time, he seemed to grasp the weight of Jake's words. Anger shifted into confusion as he struggled to find a response. Jake, He started, but Jake didn't wait to hear his pleas. I need to find my own way, Dad. And if that means losing you from my journey, then maybe that's what I have to do. The silence that followed thundered in his ears. He could feel the tremor of fear in his own heart. But amidst the uncertainty grew something stronger, hope. As Jake turned away from his father, he felt lighter, as if finally shedding a heavy cloak he had worn for years. Each step away felt like a small victory. Jake. His father's voice called out, softer this time, more pitiful. But Jake didn't stop. He knew there was a life ahead waiting to be embraced. As he and Lisa moved toward the exit, Jake's heart raced not with fear, but with the exhilarating rush of freedom. He was not simply walking away from Ryan, he was walking toward himself. Before they could reach the door, however, Jake paused, glancing back over his shoulder. What if this was just the beginning? What if the hardest fight was yet to come? Mom, he said, voice steady yet charged, do you think he'll ever change? Lisa took a moment before answering, her eyes searching the depths of his. People can surprise you, Jake. Sometimes it just takes time. With a deep breath, they stepped outside, the chill air wrapping around them. Yet in that cold, beneath the looming uncertainty, Jake felt a simmering warmth igniting inside him, a spark of possibility. And with that flicker of hope came the question that danced on his mind. What if, in seeking himself, he could find a way to bridge the gap? Would he be ready for that next step? As they walked away from the cafe, the tension of the morning began to fade with each step. The rain soaked the pavement, but it felt refreshing, almost cleansing. Jake glanced at his mother, who wore an encouraging smile. I can't believe I did that, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. It was like I was speaking for the first time. You were, Lisa replied, her warmth wrapping around him like a hug. You found your voice. That's a huge step. Together they made their way through puddles, each splash a symbol of the release that had just occurred. The clouds above lightened, allowing flickers of sunlight to break through, illuminating their path. Mom, I know I still have so much to work on, Jake said. I don't have all the answers yet. But today felt like I started to carve my own way. Lisa nodded proudly. That's all anyone can ask for. The journey is messy and uncertain, but it's yours. Embrace it. And don't forget that I'm here every step of the way. As they reached their car, Jake paused, thinking back to the confrontation. Do you think he'll ever come around? To see me? Maybe, she said softly. But remember, you're worth isn't tied to his approval. Your journey is yours to walk with or without him. Jake leaned against the car, grounding himself in her words. Each breath in felt cleansing, pushing away lingering fears. I'm ready to discover what I truly want. I want to paint again, he admitted, a spark igniting in his chest. Then let us get started. How about we find a workshop later this week? Lisa suggested, her eyes shining. I want to help you make that dream real. But you have to promise me to keep exploring. Keep pushing through any doubts. I promise, he said, a genuine smile spreading across his face. The weight of the past began to feel lighter, an old coat he could finally shed. They hopped into the car, and as they drove, laughter began to replace the earlier silence. The air was filled with new aspirations. Remember that time you painted my portrait? He asked, his voice playful. Oh please, it was a stick figure with a big nose. She laughed, shaking her head. But I cherished that drawing. You poured your heart into it. He laughed too, the warmth between them swelling like the sun breaking through the clouds. Those memories brought clarity and safety. They were the anchors reminding him of who he was and who he could become. As they neared home, Lisa turned to him, her expression growing serious. Jake, I also want to take this opportunity for me. I've spent so many years focused on your dreams that I pushed mine aside. Perhaps it's time I chase after something I love too. Like what? He asked, genuinely curious. I don't know yet, she confessed, laughter bubbling through her words. Maybe I'll look into night classes for something I've always wanted to explore, a hobby or skill. I want to show you that it's never too late for anyone to pursue their dreams. Jake's heart swelled with pride. Mom, that would be amazing. We could both be on our journeys, supporting each other along the way. Exactly. We can be each other's biggest cheerleaders, she said, the enthusiasm brightening her face. As they stepped into their home, the smell of fresh coffee welcomed them. A reminder of mornings spent together, dreams voiced over steam and laughter. The world felt vibrant and full of new possibilities. Jake looked around, aware of the change settling in the air. He was beginning to redefine success not just for himself but for both of them. The battles would still come. After all, this was life. But he felt ready to face them head-on. They settled at the dining table, notebooks ready, excitement crackling in the air. Let us make a list of all the things we want to do, Jake suggested, pen poised. Sounds like a plan. Lisa replied, her eyes bright. And let us make it big. Life is too short for small dreams. Unlike before, it felt as if they were setting sails together, navigating towards uncharted horizons. The storms of life couldn't break them if they stood side by side. And as they began to scribble, an affirmation lingered in the air of hopes, dreams, and the binding love that would always light their paths ahead. Jake knew none of this would be easy, but that was all right. They were brave enough to explore the unknown, embracing the art of becoming together. As the sun set outside their window, casting golden hues across the room, Jake held on to the conviction that anything was possible if you dared to dream and pursued it with love. This was how every story should end. Not in perfection, but in the promise of growth and the sweetness of family. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for more heartfelt tales. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this transformation with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message. Join the community, and let us make a difference together.